Why is the baby naked? What's happened to your t-shirt?
She got wet.
What's happened to your t-shirt?
Help!
Help! Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and as you can see, Ben there is proudly showing off the fact that his baby is naked. You know, you've got to get those baby naked shots in, Ben, because why else would anybody else want to watch your boring content? That's right, you've got to get that sort of person involved in the channel, right? You know, surely it does not take me to tell you not to put your baby on the internet unclothed, shall we say, in it. So, you know, or maybe it does take me to tell you. I don't know. Anyway, welcome, guys. We are on it back with the Sullivans family today. And believe it or not, we're not actually going to be talking about naked babies. We are going to be talking about the homeschooling thing that's going down right now. If you haven't seen it, they have decided on whether or not to take their kids out of school. And it is a humdinger. Stay around for that. Please check out this sponsor first, though. So yes, the Raccoon merch store has just launched some brand new products to go with their existing very popular design, the Beware of the Red Raccoon design, which has been flying off the shelves so far with all the hoodies and t-shirts at the moment that we've sold. But now we also have a new range of brilliant products such as necklaces and iPhone cases and even stickers. Anything for any budget. It's perfect. If you want to purchase anything from this brilliant store, go down to the link in the description box below and check it out. Thank you all so much. Let's get back on to the video.
We've made quite a few decisions regarding school, regarding Joseph, and Florence is involved in that. And at the moment, we're looking and debating about Eva at the moment. Eva's been struggling at school. But the main decision that we've made is, and believe me when I say, this is morning after morning discussing, thinking about the best options, researching. This isn't, as you'll know if you followed us for ages, this isn't an instant decision that we've made off the cuff. This is a decision that we've talked about so much, haven't we?
Oh, God, yeah.
So much. Not just about school, about Joseph and Florence, about the older ones, about...
So am I to understand there that the older ones have left the old school, the Lossomouth school, right? And have gone to another school locally? Is that what's happened these days? Because yes, I follow them, but I don't follow them like, you know, mind-blowing, like, because Ben, Zoe are so boring, right? Okay, they're boring, but they do things. They do things wrong. So it's kind of a toss-up. Shall I watch them? Shall I not watch them? Is there anything interesting going on in their lives? More than likely, no, there's not. But at the same time, they still do things wrong. So yeah, is that what's happened then? The other kids have left that school and gone to another school now. I believe that's what's happened. I've heard them mentioned anyway.
How, like, school for some people is amazing. School for some people, like Elizabeth, who's our first, obviously, she aced school, came out with A's, A's in everything pretty much.
The thing is with the education system and schooling is, if you are academic and follow the rules and do all of that sort of stuff and need that kind of pathway
structure,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's great.
If you follow the rules, yes. Yes, Zoe, that is generally what happens at school. It's generally what should be happening in real life. In real life, you know, in life. In society, you need to follow the rules. You need to be a rule follower. What you're suggesting is that if you want to be a rebel, then you can, but you can't do it within the confines of school, right? You can't be a rebel at school. You could be a rebel rouser here on the Raccoon channel, though. Always, we like to, you know, rouse people into some sort of fighting spirit. And they don't like that, the school system. So if you want to, you know, be a bit of a rebel, you need to leave the school system. This is what they're telling us anyway.
School is great. School will work for you, and we've seen it from all sides now. We've seen it from having students that excel at school, students that struggle at school. Also, the school system now isn't the same as it was when we first started putting kids through school. So back when the older girls started school, I wouldn't have even thought about homeschooling. And I know after the pandemic, everybody thought about homeschooling more. I know there was people that homeschooled before that.
Yes, the pandemic does have a lot of a lot to answer for with regards to the current homeschooling epidemic, right? But I'd also have to say that influencers have an even bigger part to play in that, because of the amount of influencers, mainly YouTubers and everyone else like that, they are homeschooling their kids, right? Because they have to. Not because they want to, it's because they have to, for two reasons. One is because the kids get bullied to fuck at school, so they can't put them into school. And secondly, they need the kids out of school for content. And homeschooling, let's be honest, is brilliant content, right? So that's the reasons why, like, YouTubers keep the kids off school. But they are influencing regular people to go down that route. Now, I'm not saying that homeschooling is bad necessarily, right? It's not. Done right, it's right. For the right kids, it's right. But it's not right for everybody. And the way it's being portrayed by YouTubers who do it for very different reasons to the average Joe, right? They are portraying it as like the be all and end all. It's what you should do. It's amazing and everything else like that. And the school system itself is absolutely shit. That's what is being put out there. Misinformation by YouTubers. Thank you very much.
I never even thought that there was another choice. You know, you are told, we all went to school, you're told you put your children to school. It's kind of what everybody does. You all follow the rules of the country that, you know, are laid out to you.
I will have to add on this, though, that I kind of agree with her point on this, that when you have a child and they go to school initially, you're not told that you have the option to not put them into school, right? You're basically told that you have to put them into school. It's the law, it's legal. But what you're not told is that you just have to give them an education. It's not whether they or not they're into school. You don't have to put them in school to give them that education. But they don't tell you this. And I personally feel that's a bit wrong, you know? It is wrong, to be honest.
That's what you do because that's what you're supposed to do. Obviously, lots has changed in the last 20 years or 15 years since we started putting kids to school. And since, I don't know what's going on in there.
It's Florence. She is being supervised.
She's playing Kaplunk or something. Since the pandemic especially, the education system, and it's nothing to do with the people, the teachers or anything in the schools, they're all trying their best. I mean, the majority of teachers...
Mommy, what's happened?
Oh no, what happened?
I don't know what happened.
Did you knock something over?
Broken.
I don't know, is it broken?
It's broken. What's broken?
Come here.
I'll come and look in just a second. Is Isabel going to help you?
We'll come and look in 2 seconds, darling, alright?
Yeah, since the pandemic, everything has changed, and like I said, the majority of teachers that we come across have been brilliant. They've tried their best.
Oh, and that's all that you can hope for, isn't it? That the teachers can try their best. If not, they've not gone through teacher school for nothing, isn't it? right? They got their education, they got their certificates, their degrees and everything else, just for Zoe Sullivan to come along and say, you tried your best, love, you tried your best, but alas, you weren't quite as successful as I'm going to be in my homeschool of excellence down up here in the east of Scotland, northeast of Scotland. Zoe is going to be a fabulous teacher, but, if she doesn't succeed, we could just say, Zoe, you tried your best, love, Don't worry about it. Your kids are illiterate, but at least you tried your best. That's all that we can ask for, isn't it, Zoe?
And are trying their best.
Yeah, you're always going to get a few that you disagree with, or a few that maybe
have different ideas, I
whatever.
suppose. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that, to be honest. I'm sorry, their teachers, they not only try their best, but there's always going to be a few that you just disagree with that may have different ideas to you, I mean, they've only just gone through teacher school, haven't they, to bring you their fine ideas to your table, but you might not agree with the way that they teach your kids. It's okay, though, because they're doing their best after all. Come on, guys. Big it up for the teachers of this country. They are trying their best.
But the majority have always, they try their best. But the system is not working. The system is broken, as with everything else. I don't like the sound of that.
So I'm going to come across as a bit ignorant here, okay? Not going to lie, right? I don't know everything. I don't have the answer for everything. But Zoe here is saying something. I've heard it said many, many times by different people, right? The system is broken. The education system is broken. But they haven't told me why. Why is the system broken? What is broken about it? What's going wrong that you don't agree with? So you send your kids to school and they get an education. The teachers teach the national curriculum. That's the thing in the UK, right? They teach the national curriculum and they go home from school. And the kids either learn or they don't learn, It's been the same for centuries, right? That's the basics of schooling. So what is wrong with it? Okay? I know there's a few things that could be improved, right? Which we will get to. But by and large, which part of that is broken? Like, the teachers can't teach anymore. The kids don't want to learn anymore. The parents don't want to send the kids to school anymore. Which part of it is the problem? Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know, because I don't know. Right.
That sounds like a lot of marbles and stuff. But anyway, like I said, a lot has changed in the last 20 years since we've started putting kids to school. And I don't know whether it's age, whether it's just because we've had lots of children. I don't have the same faith in the government, the same faith in the education system, the same faith in any of it that I used to have.
So, again, what is the problem with it? I'm failing to understand. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's the fact that I went to school and just got an education. I failed at a lot of subjects. I'm not perfect. Passed at some of them. I didn't get as many GCSEs as some of the kids these days do get. But I'm still not, but they're saying that the education system is different to when I went to school, which it may well be. But on the other hand, how different is it for the kids involved? Are they not allowed to talk anymore in class, or are they not allowed to what are they not allowed to do that they couldn't do back in the day? I'm coming across as ignorant. I know that. I know there's problems with the education system. I just don't know what they are. That's all.
And like I said, if you are the kind of person that needs school, that wants that structure, that is a rule follower, that is academic, all that sort of stuff, it's great.
There's that term again, a rule follower, right? So basically, it's anybody that toes the line will get on well at school. So the system isn't broken. Is that what you're saying? Basically, it's the kids that are going to school that are broken. Is that what you're saying? Because if you're saying that kids who don't follow rules won't get an education because they won't get on at school, then that's on the child and the parents, surely. If you're saying that the kids won't follow rules, you know. I mean, I personally wasn't a great rule follower. I got so many detentions, it's unbelievable, right? But I still got on at school. But she's going to allude now to the varying, like, the fact that if you're academic, school is good. And I kind of get this perspective, I do. So we're going to have a little listen to what she's got to say.
If we'd only ever had Elizabeth, I never would have known of any problems in the schooling system.
No.
But having had other kids go through that haven't, have struggled and haven't done as well, haven't had their needs met, I think. Haven't had their needs met at all. There was a lot of promises made after the pandemic that they would help get kids up to speed. They didn't, and kids were just left. And there's a whole generation of kids that were exam sitting at that time, and in crucial years at that time, that just kind of will become the COVID kids, and they were just forgotten about.
So this bit, she's probably a little bit more on point, right? I believe that the kids who went through COVID at the time when they were at school and they were COVID, that the COVID kids, as she says, probably were more forgotten about. And I have every sympathy for the kids who had to go through it at school. It mustn't have been easy. So on that respect, I can understand where she's coming from.
And that has a knock-on effect. But again, at the end of the day, yes, education is important, but education isn't only academic. Education's not just going to school, learning maths, learning English, learning the things that you're told to learn.
Right, I'm going to disagree with you here, Zoe, and this is a very controversial point. And maybe I'm not the right person to give this point. Maybe it won't come across very well because the two subjects which I was particularly good at, and probably the only subjects I'm good at all, right, were English and maths. But what I will say, looking at it subjectively or objectively, what the fuck? See, I said I was good at English, fuck knows. Anyway, right, looking at it, right, every job that you need in the future, everything that you do, you need English, right? A level of English. I'm not saying you have to be the brain of Britain at English, right? You don't. But you do need to be able to learn to read and write. Those are the cornerstones of education and learning, right? You do need to know how to learn to read and write. That's essential, 100%. That's non-negotiable. I think surely you would agree with that, surely, Zoe? No? At least, the very least. The other thing is maths. And this is a divisive topic because I know a lot of people are not good at maths. They have like a phobia of maths, or they have a fear, basically. They have a mental block when it comes to maths. I don't understand it, but I believe that's a thing. So, however, maths is still important to a degree. Yes, you don't need to know all the your algebras and stuff like that in order to get on in life, but every single job that you take on in the future will require some form of maths, some form of knowing your numbers. It does. You work in a shop, you need to know how to count. Yes, you can use a till, but you still need to know whether you're given the right change or not. You need to know your maths, right? If you run your own business, you need to know your maths because of like your accounts and stuff like that, and things like that. You know, basically every single job that you take on will require a level of maths, right? So you can't avoid it entirely. You do need to teach those subjects. It's how far you teach those subjects to particular students. Not all students need to learn it right through to GCSEs, maybe. I don't know. But to not teach those two subjects at all would be criminal, in my opinion.
You know, our kids learn all the time, all day, every day. They learn when they're out and about playing, they learn when we take them out walking, they learn in the kitchen, they learn all of the other skills that they learn. School education isn't just school.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, you learn everywhere. You know, you go for a walk in the woods and you learn about the different trees, the different plants, the different mushrooms or whatever, right? But you can do that in addition to going to school. You can learn, like, you know, you can go for your walk on the weekend and learn all about your plants and stuff, right? You can learn in the kitchen watching mummy cook, right? Maybe not. Does she cook it? No, chicken burgers. Yeah, no, don't watch mummy cook. But, you know, you can learn in addition to going to school as well. So the point is valid, but not an excuse for taking them out of school.
And that is, I think that's the things nowadays. Some of the things that I think are important aren't taught at schools anymore.
No.
They're not, like, things for me like the arts and creativity and all those sorts of things. They're not thought highly of enough at school anymore. You know, it's got to be English, it's got to be maths, it's got to be
science. It's STEM,
but
which is fine.
Whilst they're all important things, it's not everything, and not every kid is going to be good at English, maths and science. And if they're not, up here, especially in Scotland, you know, I feel that the other subjects are not so easy to access. They're not so, they're underfunded, understaffed. They don't seem to be as important, and they are important if that's the way that you want to go in life.
So I have a question, right? And this is a general question for the whole of homeschooling and unschooling, which is the way that they're thinking of going down. I'm sure a lot of people do unschooling, and that's basically if you want to teach a certain thing, like if they want to be an artist, you teach them all about arts, right? Or whatever, right? But what if at the age of 5, which is Joseph's age, right? I think he thinks he wants to do something, and you push him to do that, and then later on in life he thinks, I want to be a mathematician, really, mummy. Where do we go from here? It's a tricky one. So please let me know, what are the protocols there? What happens if you've just completely fucked up your kid's life because at the age of 5 he enjoyed painting?
So
it's definitely a struggle. I mean, this isn't a dig at the schools per se. This isn't a dig
they're fighting
at
against the same
teachers.
stuff.
This isn't a dig at any of that. What it's a dig at is lack of funding, lack of...
That's not their fault. I know
all those
teachers
sorts of
that
things.
have tried really hard to get access to equipment for kids in our schools, and they can't because there isn't any funding.
And they have the wrong skill of teacher teaching the wrong subject because there's nobody to teach that subject. There wasn't any...
Well, Zoe, there's a job for you then. You know, obviously the schools are underfunded and understaffed. They've got the wrong teachers teaching the wrong subjects. So I think that's wrong. Clearly, that is wrong. But Zoe, you're going to become a teacher now, aren't you? Qualified in everything, in teaching. So you can go ahead and teach in the local school there where they have maybe an opening for, well, I don't know, a drama teacher. You know, you seem quite good at that. You know, give it a go. Help out the local community. Be good for you.
Cooking or catering, was there? Because there was nobody to teach it.
So I know there's going to be substitute teachers. There always was, but I'm talking like for a whole term.
Yeah.
And
you know, and so really what we're trying to say is we've thought long and hard, and I mean, if you followed us for a long time, you'll know that this subject has cropped up. We've talked about it, we've thought about it, it's gone away. No, we're not gone away for us, but we haven't talked about it on YouTube. It's always there in the background, and we've made a rock solid decision now not to send Joseph to school, and we're not going to send Florence to school either. What I mean,
well, we're not going to send Florence to nursery. If the time comes and we think that she needs to go to school,
that's what I was about to say. Yeah, so
good decision, Ben. Good decision, guys. I'm fully in support of you, as were hundreds of people in your comments. In fact, they thought that you were doing the right thing because they know your kids inside out, and they know that the best thing for Joseph would be to stay at home and be filmed for YouTube. There's a job for you. You could push him in the direction of being a famous YouTuber. That could be his schooling pathway, right? Could be. You never know. But I mean, I can't really judge whether or not it's a right decision or the wrong decision. Lots of people have opinions. I've heard it said that, you know, Joseph should really be going into school. Maybe it's the best thing for him. Maybe it's not. I don't know, right? I don't know. Zoe and Ben seem to think that Joseph has a level of autism, but it's undiagnosed. So again, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he's autistic or not autistic. If he is, then that's a whole different well, it's not really, is it? That is the topic of conversation. I think people have an opinion whether or not he should be put into school in this situation. It's possible that it would be a good thing for him to go, even though he's struggling right now to get him to go to school. And I think that's where people are divisive on this. So it's a tough one. I just don't feel like these two Muppets are the right educators for him, really.
So and I don't mean to keep them from school forever. What I'm saying is, if there comes a point where we think Joseph is ready to go to school,
or wants to go to school,
then maybe we'll reintroduce him to the school system. But at the moment, with how Joseph is, it's not going to do him any favours.
It's not a forever decision either. You know,
no.
You can, just because you deregister your child doesn't mean that at some point along the way
they can't go back
put them back into the school system.
Yep.
I mean, there isn't as much support for homeschooling here, but you do obviously have the right to deregister your child. And I know that there'll be lots of people say that he needs to go to school and all of that sort of stuff, but nobody knows him
as well as we do.
Again, I'm going to kind of agree with that, you know. Nobody knows him as well as they do, but do they know him well enough in order to make the judgment as to whether or not he can cope at school? I don't know. Do they know him well enough to know that they could teach him from home? I'm not quite sure about that either.
There's a lot of stuff we don't share about Joseph.
Yes.
And also, our voices go very unheard when it comes to Joseph. We've been waiting for an assessment appointment, a second assessment appointment for him for over a year. The system, again, is underfunded, understaffed. There's not enough, you know, the waiting lists are absolutely humongous. Really, the only reason we would need a definitive diagnosis for him is to send him to school so that he could get the help that he needs. I mean, there could be that he needs more help later on in life, so we're still going through the process.
Yes.
But we have done a lot of learning as a family over the last 3 years especially, of his triggers, how to help him, how to help him to learn.
But we've also listened to you guys as well when you've given us advice. I remember there was one vlog that we did and we went to Duffers Castle just down the road, and it was the middle of winter, and Joseph got cold. He refused to put his coat on, and in the end we gave in and we went home, didn't we? Do you remember? And it was an absolute disaster because he was trying to open the door, I had to put the child locks on the car, all that sort of stuff. And from that point, you know, we talked about it on the vlogs, and loads of you guys at home, you gave us your advice, and we know there's lots of people that follow us that have children with additional needs, and And your advice is a godsend, to be honest. And we've listened to a lot of your advice, and a lot of the things that you have in place for your children, we've put in place for Joseph. And
so many people have given us so many ideas of things to do, more so than any of the professionals who don't give any help or guidance. You're literally just left fishing around in the dark, not knowing what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. So the help and advice, I mean, obviously we've had the negative, and obviously we'll get the negative on here saying that we should be doing this, but at the end of the day, these are our children.
Yes.
We will make the decisions.
We will.
Yes, for certain things, making the decisions for your own children is appropriate, but when it comes to YouTubering, it's not appropriate, is it, Ben and Zoe? No. At the beginning of this video, I showed the fact that Ben filmed your child naked. That's right, and you didn't care. Not only did you not care that your child was walking up naked, she was wearing underwear, I think, but basically naked, right? And she was walking up behind in full view of the camera. And not only did Ben not stop the camera from filming, but he turned the camera on to the child specifically to film her in that state. And that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm sorry, but it is so wrong. No.
But the amount of people that have come out with help and suggestions has been incredible, and believe me, there's been so many little things that we've gone, I didn't even think of that, you know, and they have all these little things. Anybody with children with autism or ADHD or any additional needs know how fine things need to be. It can be something, I was watching something the other day, there was a girl with autism, and it was on a TikTok or something, I can't remember, and I think it was you that showed me actually. The cafe, the place they went to every single week
to get
as a routine to get an ice lolly, the cafe was closed, and she couldn't understand why she couldn't have an ice lolly. Now, for most people, most you know, neurotypical children, yes, they'd be upset, but you'd be able to talk them round. For children who everything has to be just so, it's that one little tiny thing that can ruin the rest of the day, that will just throw them out. We've had it ourselves. And we have it every single day. Every single day there will be something. I think you don't notice quite as much as people, as a family, because you deal with it all the time, and you kind of know ways to either get around it or just to get through it, or some days there is no getting around it or getting through it, and you just have to, just get through the day, get them to bed, and hope that the next day is better. But it's the tiny little things that wouldn't have any effect on us. If I'm too hot or too cold, I'll take my coat off or I'll put a jumper on. If Joseph gets too hot or too cold, that's all he can think about. There was
a prime example, if you remember. So we'd basically stayed in the hotel overnight. Joseph did amazingly well throughout the night, and then he slept in his bed in the hotel. But the next morning, it started at breakfast. He was totally out of his routine. He refused to eat anything downstairs, but fortunately we'd brought some fruit and food with us for him, so he drank some juice with us while we had breakfast at the hotel. But from then on, it was meltdown after meltdown after meltdown, which we don't film because we don't think it's fair on Joseph to totally film all the meltdowns and all that kind of stuff. No, it's not, and plus I don't want to, but it is, you do quite a lot go on days like that, where it's meltdown after meltdown after meltdown, and you just pick up and you start again. You have to but it can be over this tiniest little thing. Hungry, if he's hungry, most of us will go, I'm really hungry, I can't wait to have my dinner or whatever, or get a snack. For Joseph, it takes over everything. All his thinking is then about him being hungry. He can't cope with all the rest of the stuff that goes on, and I can't put him in a position to go to school when he is not going to cope in that environment. No. He's not going to cope. He is not ready, and he's not. Now, I deferred him for a year, which I was allowed to do, obviously within the school system. He is not ready to cope with that. And yes, some of you might say, well, I'm sure he'd get into a routine in the end. Maybe he would. Forced into a routine.
Maybe he wouldn't. He enjoys the little things that he does now. He's happy. Yep. He started to learn things through us. And I'm not going to put him into a system that I think will be so overwhelming to him. All it's going to do is just, his brain is just not going to be able to cope with it, and it's just going to be overwhelm after overwhelm after overwhelm, which is going to get nobody anywhere. He's not going to learn in that environment. You know, as a family, it's not going to, he'll come home and it will just be might keep it together at school, and then he'll come home and it will just be explosive. So, you know,
but it's also
lovely time with him either.
But it's also getting him into school. I mean, when he went for his trial days at the school in Ottermouth, he lasted 10 minutes at a time, and even then that was a struggle. And I know the teachers said, "Come on, Mr. Sullivan, out you come." So we left him in the room, and I said, "Look, I know Joseph, and I know that he's not gonna." Freud. I know Joseph, and I know that he's not going to last in the classroom.
No.
And she said, "Well, just give him a chance." And all that. And in the end, he had a complete meltdown, and the teacher came and found me, and that happened every single time. So rather than going through all that process again,
I just don't feel it's necessary.
No,
I don't feel it's necessary.
Yeah,
and some people will say, "Oh yeah, they must do this." I don't feel that they must.
But he's also
maybe one time years ago, I would have gone along with what the system says, and the system says I must do this, so I must take them. I've done it, taking them to school every day, when really in the back of my mind I thought they don't want to be here and I shouldn't be doing this, but I've done it because that's what I've thought I should be doing, because that's what people told me I should be doing, and that's what society says I should be doing, and that's what the government says I should be doing. I now know that I don't have to do those things.
She's a whinger, isn't she? What the hell? On she goes, onwards and upwards and on and on and on and on. Fucking hell. Right. Question for you though, Zoe. How do you intend coping with not one but two homeschooled children so far? Only the two, but you're thinking about doing others as well. But at the moment, and we see this every single day, you can't cope with being at home and just doing general housework, right? You can't cope with it. You have 12 kids. You've got to do washing after washing after washing after washing. You've got to cook. You've got to wash up. You've got to clean up. You've got to vacuum. You've got to do this, that, and the other, because the household is an absolute state, right? And that's not a dig at you. It's just the fact that you've got so much going on. But additionally, you're going to do full-time homeschooling as well. Don't know where you're going to get the hours in the day, if I'm being honest. Don't know how you're going to cope. You might have a breakdown. Sorry.
And I now know I don't have to put myself or the family or that child in that position. So I will do what I think is best.
Definitely.
We will do what we think is best for him. Definitely. And what is best for him at the moment is to be at home. We will put a plan together. We will, We've
already been doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
he's already good. He's already good at his ABCs. He can write his name. He knows his numbers. So.
Okay, so I'm not gonna be too hard here, because I realise there's a possibility that he's autistic. But shouldn't he already know his ABCs? I mean, he does know, but I mean, at the age of 5, he's 5, isn't he? Nearly 6, isn't it? Is that how old he is? Shouldn't he know his ABCs and a fair amount of his numbers by now?
We're already on that journey.
You see, one of the things that Joseph struggles with is his fine motor skills.
Yes, he does.
So things like writing and stuff like that, he can just about write a little bit, can't he? But
yes.
He struggles to hold his pencil, hold his pen. He struggles very much, and I've said this to the specialists and whatever a million times, but again, I don't feel like anybody listens. So it's those sorts of things that we will work on with him, like Definitely. We do now. But he gets very, very upset when you try and work on these things, so we have to do it in a way that suits him.
We've been doing it in the way that in the garden we've been getting sticks and we've been doing things and doing those sorts of things.
I know they do a lot of that in P1 anyway, doing it in the sand and all that, but there's no reason why we can't do that at home. So, and if in the future he says he wants to go to school, then we'll look at it again. But for right now, the decision is made, and that is him staying at home.
I mean, it's so the decision on Joseph is made, and we're going to keep Florence out of nursery and keep her at home as well.
She was never going to go to nursery anyway.
No.
Okay, so but what basis are you keeping Florence at home right? Why is she not even going to nursery? You know, I get maybe you don't want to send Joseph to school because maybe he is struggling with his autism, if that's what he has. But Florence, right? I get if you maybe don't have, like, if you have an issue with the school system entirely, maybe you don't want to send her to school, but why aren't you sending her to nursery? She needs to mix with other kids. She needs to learn certain things, and mixing with or socializing with other children is very, very important. And you're going to deny her that on what basis?
I didn't send Agnes, I didn't send Joseph,
No.
and I'm not going to send her. She doesn't need to go to nursery. I don't want her to go to nursery. Nothing against the nurseries, but that place could be taken up by somebody that needs that place.
Exactly.
Okay, so why doesn't she need to go to nursery? I don't understand. Please explain that one to me. I don't understand, why didn't she need to go to nursery? You're saying that Joseph didn't go, Agnes didn't go. The reason why Agnes didn't go, if I remember rightly, is something along the lines of you love her being at home, right? Nothing to do with her needs specifically, nothing to do with what is best for her. It was because you didn't want her to go to, you know, you liked having her at home and you liked taking her out in the day and stuff like that. That was what it was all about, Zoe and her needs, not about what was best for Agnes. Joseph, again, I can kind of understand why you didn't send him because, you know, he's got special needs. But Florence is fine as far as I can tell, right? Unless you're going to tell us otherwise. So why isn't Florence being sent to nursery? Is it because you want her to be at home and you will miss her or something like that?
She's fine home here with us, so.
But we're also thinking long on other terms. We're thinking about some of the high schoolers are struggling, so we're also looking into what we can do to help them as well. But that's for another day. That's for another discussion, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, there are a couple of other children that I may well register from school as well.
And
if I don't feel that they're getting the benefits of the system, then what's the point in being in it?
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
But there you go.
But that's it, isn't it? Right? You're not sending, or you're thinking about dragging a few of the other kids out from high school, right? And one of those is Toby. You've already talked about him and his issues, and he doesn't like to go to school and things like that. And it's clear as hell that Toby is getting the piss ripped out of him at school. I would absolutely guarantee that. If I could prove that, I would, because I think that is the case, right? Definitely. He has a dad who acts weird on camera every single day, right? And I'm not judging, right? My dad was a bit weird, very weird, right? But he didn't put us on the internet. He didn't put himself on the internet. Actually, no, he was on fuck's sake. I'm not going to go into my little secrets, you know. It's between me and God. Anyway, right? But yeah, so he has a mother and a father who do all these weird things every day, say weird things, do weird things, fucking with a humongous plunger thing Ben was filming one time, you know, and stuff like that will get you ripped at school. Ripped to shreds, honestly, and it's out there for the world to see, and his peers will be watching. Absolutely guarantee it. I'm not saying it's right that you should get bullied, but he will do, and it's all your fault, both of you. There you go, I said it. Anyway, that is enough for today. That was Ben and Zoe's decision about homeschooling and the way that they want to bring up the kids. Do you agree with them or do you disagree? Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of this situation. Until next time, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Are you a Sullivan fan? Are you an ex-Sullivan fan? Am I pointing you in the direction of a new world out there? Get that subscribe button hit. Until next time, have a lovely day, take care of yourselves, and bye bye.